Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy, the dope ass dude, and I am so excited to be here tonight. And I am so excited about the podcast tonight because we have a lot of great things going on tonight, and our guest is simply amazing. So I'm extremely excited to have him on tonight. But before we get started, you guys know the normal things. If you don't mind, going ahead and click on that subscribe button on YouTube. If you don't mind, go ahead, click on the subscribe button on YouTube, and then also click on notify so that once we upload a video, you will be notified of the upload instantly. And if you are not following me on TikTok and IG, make sure you go out and do that. On both the Dope Ass Dude podcast. So if you don't mind, go ahead, follow me on Twitter, and I mean TikTok and Instagram, as well as Twitter, actually. So, and then if you're on the go, you can always listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. So, again, subscribe here on YouTube. Also, subscribe on and click that notification button. And while you're there, go ahead and click that like button. Click that like button on tonight's podcast so that this can get pushed out to others just like you. So I'm really excited about having the guest on tonight, Ryan. He is an amazing force in the world. I have been following this guy for a while now, and I just love the energy that he brings to the world and how he is pursuing his dreams and living his passion. I mean, it is just amazing because every time I watch one of his videos, I cannot do anything but smile. So this guy, he does that, and I know that when you meet him on tonight, you will feel the same way. And he's eating some pretty cooked, like freaking cool food. I mean, I don't know how this guy is so lean, but he eats a whole lot. But yeah, like a whole lot, and some of the things that I want to eat. But I'm really excited to have him on here. And then I see that we have Serge in the audience, and we have Marion, Daisy Mae Rutabaga, and we have Alex Bird. What's up, Alex, man? I'm so happy to see you here. But let's go ahead and bring Ryan on out.
Hey,
Ryan, what's going on,
what's
man?
up, man? I'm doing good, brother. How you doing?
I am amazing, dude. I am so excited to have you on here tonight, Ryan. Like,
Same.
dude, you don't understand how excited I am. So,
Appreciate you.
yeah, because we tried before,
Yeah.
and you were going to like a dinner for Top Chef or Canada or something.
Oh, right. Yes. Top Chef. And we actually crowned our very first Black Top Chef in Canada. It was a very special time. Quick shout out to my guy, Train Sanderson, who won. But yeah, you and I, we were supposed to do this a little while ago. And, sometimes we don't control what happens in the universe and timing isn't right. But I'm so glad that we're making it happen tonight, man.
Exactly, man. Because like I said, I've followed you for a while now, and it so happened, we connected through Scotty.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
guy here, and I've talked about his book here on the podcast before. You guys may have seen I've made like some sweet potato bread out of his cookbook, but Ryan knows Scotty as well, and we
Yeah.
connected through him. And it's just, ever since then, I've just been following Ryan and just inspired. So, Ryan, tell us about you, man. Like,
Yeah.
how did you get started? Who are you?
So my name is Ryan Hinkson. I'm out of Toronto, Canada. I am a food culturalist. You may have never ever heard that term or that title in your life before and not know what it is. Don't feel any ways about it. I don't really know what it is either. Basically, what I get to do is I get to run around my city of Toronto. I get to run around this beautiful planet and eat, but not just highlight food. I want to tell the stories of the people that are getting the food to us, and what makes it so special, what makes them so special. I've just been on this blessed journey of the last few years where I've got an Instagram account called Eat Famous, just over about 280,000 followers. So that's primarily where people will see what I do, what I'm eating, who I'm talking to. Yeah, it's this weird thing because it's a space that, although I know all of us have been on social for a couple of years now and are very familiar with it, in terms of doing it as a job and getting to pursue my passion, and having a career out of getting to eat some great food and do things like this, speak to people like you. It wasn't something that I had thought would ever be a reality. So it's very cool.
So, and before you started this, because you and I was talking a little bit, you were just a blogger, right? You were blogging on the website and somebody
Yeah.
noticed you. So tell us about that, man.
Right. So a couple of years ago, I was just writing for a website called Trend Hunter. So it wasn't very food specific. It's more about emerging trends and things to look out for, things that are very, very kind of really out there that we wanted to get the world ready for before they became popular. And I would say he's a great friend of mine now, but at the time we were more just we had mutual friends, and he was launching a business idea designed to help businesses in the restaurants, do a little better during slow times and help people save some money. And he was looking for someone to help with marketing and communication. And he just randomly read an article that I wrote, and he was like, called me up. He's like, "Hey, Rye, I love the way that you write. I'm looking for someone to help with some communication on this business I'm launching. Would you be interested?" So I took a meeting with him. I saw his business plan, and I was just blown away by how ahead of its time this was. So we started working on this business, and that a big part of what I was doing involved me kind of going to restaurants. I've always been someone that loved food, but with purpose and intention, I was going to restaurants and documenting that journey. And at that same time, I just kind of started sharing that to Instagram while we were building this thing. And it was the Instagram that actually really, really took off. Life happened. He got married. He had like 4 kids in like 3.5 years. And we just kind of switched our focus. And I just kind of ran with the IG account. Eat Famous was born, and I haven't looked back since.
Wow. And I mean, it's just amazing. And I always tell people, I believe God is just strategic in everything that he does and
I agree.
how he orchestrates things. And this is just a prime example because you were just writing a blog,
Yeah.
nothing to do with
No.
food, and someone recognized you. And from there, it erupted,
Yeah.
where you are today.
Yeah.
Dude, that is just like amazing.
It truly is. And you know what's funny is, I even with the blog, to be honest, I I was encouraged by a good friend of mine that I used to work with when I had my corporate job. He was just like, "Hey, Rye, you're always like the first to tell us about something, whether it's like somewhere to go, something to wear, a movie, a song." And he was like, "You should try to just start blogging on this Trend Hunter website." So I have so many people that are pivotal in my journey to where I am here. Just whether it's small suggestions or sharing free game with me, encouragement. I've definitely been around a lot of really selfless, great people who have kind of helped me point this map that I'm following in the right direction.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And it's like I said, God is just always strategic in how he
Hmm.
does. And I just know a lot of people, they are doing things that they don't think that is going to lead anywhere, and
Hmm. Hmm.
I just always encourage people, do whatever you do with pride,
Yeah.
do it impeccably, give your very best. And when the time comes, you will just submit something and someone else will notice it, and then things
But
take off from there.
I agree. I agree. You never know who's watching. Sometimes it's not instantaneous. Both of you, yourself and I, we both have a presence online. It may not be something that someone comments or DMs or messages right away. It could be months, years down the line, but people will say things that let you know they were seeing, they were paying attention, they were appreciating what you were doing. And like you said, if it's just moving forward with purpose, good intention, doing it well, we shouldn't create these timelines for ourselves. There's nothing wrong with goals and planning and working towards something, but I think when you're just truly going forth in faith and just pursuing things you love, something has to come from it, right? It may not even be for ourselves. A lot of times the purpose is bigger than us. We're laying foundation for someone else or something else.
Yeah, and I love how you just said, because you said this a couple of times, do it on purpose. Do
Hmm.
it on purpose. Do it
Yep.
on purpose. And so many times we lose that when we're doing things.
Yeah.
It just become a repetition for us and we lose the real meaning of why we even do things.
Hmm.
But people, sometimes we have to get refocused, we have to regain focus, and again get to back to what you just said. Do it on purpose
I
every
agree.
day. Do it on purpose. Wow. And this is your full-time gig now, right?
This is it. This is it. This is it. I spent a lot of years at corporate. I worked with, it's funny. I've worked for Nike. I worked for Coca-Cola, and these are jobs and companies that come with a certain amount of like prestige from outside. People might think, oh wow, you've worked for these large companies, but I mean, I wasn't really fulfilled or happy at these jobs. Not to say I wasn't grateful for them, not to say I didn't learn things or have incredible relationships that last past leaving them, but yeah, I'm, I'm so I don't even know what the word is, but like I'm so happy that I do this full time. It's a blessing, definitely, definitely.
And how did you know
Hmm.
that you were supposed to do this full time? How did you
Right.
switch? Because I think that's another place where a lot of people get hung up.
Hmm.
They know that they're supposed to be doing something greater, but they
Yeah.
don't want to leave their job. They
Hmm.
don't want to do whatever they have to do. So, how did you know,
Right.
hey, this is the direction I'm supposed to go into?
Right. Well, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say that for a long time I wanted to do what I was doing. And it just came to a point where when Eat Famous was like the side hustle, it was a side hustle that was functioning like a full-time job. So I'm putting just as much time, probably more effort into it than I'm putting into my day-to-day job. So the plate is super full. Thankfully, like my wife was super and the whole family super supportive, but I mean, it was drain. Although it looks like fun, and I mean, it does come with a great deal of rewarding and enjoyable parts of it. It's still work, right? So I'm grinding out hard at both things, and then my daughter, my daughter was born, and I took pat leave when she was like 6 months. So I took a couple months off of work when she was 6 months old, and just spent a lot of time with her. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I could go back. This is too good, right? So I went back to work for a couple weeks, and I'm telling my wife, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I was there for years, and probably would have been happy to just coast and ride off into the sunset. You get a package and you just kind of hang it up that way. But I think getting that taste of not just the freedom, but that was probably the longest break I had ever had from working in my life. I've had jobs since I was 14, 15, and then you graduate school and you're just in the cycle, right, of working and everything. So having that time off and then also spending it with Avery, my daughter, I really just became very aware of how important doing what you want to do with the hours given to you in the day is, right? And for some people, that is their job. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I knew it just wasn't what I was doing. So I didn't jump all the way. I took a position at a startup. So it's kind of like, but it was like more in the creative realm, more towards the line of what I wanted to do. It didn't work out, but it revealed itself that it wasn't going to work out pretty quickly. So it was maybe like I'm talking just weeks after leaving a job that I was at for over a decade. And I come home that day and I tell my wife what happened. She was like, why don't you just do your own thing? Like you've been doing it. Why don't you just go out and do your own thing? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's try it. And I mean, that's been over 3 years ago now, and I haven't looked back. And there's sometimes I'm like, wow, right? You should have done this so much earlier. But hey, I'm doing it now. I don't want to look back. I don't have a time machine. I can't build a DeLorean like Doc did for Marty McFly. So I just kind of live in the present and be appreciative of that. It's working out right now.
Yeah, and everything happens when it's supposed to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and we can always go back and be like, dang, yeah, why didn't I do that a little bit earlier? But
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes when that if you would have probably done it a little bit earlier, your wife probably been like, "No, you might need to stay on that job, and we about to have a
It's true.
baby,
Right.
so no,
True.
you know
True.
you can't quit." So
Yeah.
everything happens when it happens, and it's funny that you said your wife
Hmm.
encouraged you to do that. Well, not funny,
Yeah.
but that's really good to hear because I was about to ask you that
Hmm.
how supportive was she in that
Yeah.
process of you switching over? But hey, you answered that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny, because like my background is Beijing. My folks are from Barbados, so they immigrated to Toronto like late 70s, and like for West Indian kids, Caribbean kids, like our parents are like, yo, you get your job, you keep it, like, and especially you get quote unquote a good job, like there's not this going out to express yourself or be an artist or create, like you keep that job, you get it. So I remember even, being a grown man, having my own place, having a family, I'm still thinking, what are my folks going to think when I tell them, hey, like but they surprised me with how supportive they had been. But I think they had also, they know who they raised, and they had seen kind of like the growth, the progression. It didn't hurt that every now and then I would show them a check, right, from something I did to kind of solidify, like let them know that, we're not playing around. But yeah, and I think support is critical because I know a lot of people today, especially coming off of this pandemic, where you really get an understanding of the value of time and ownership of time. A lot of businesses and dreams were started because people had time to think, or they were faced with the reality of how unstable life can be, right? But I would always encourage folks that, like, if they have a good support system, go for it. And if you don't feel that your support system's the strongest, maybe you got to let them in more. Maybe you really got to open up as to what your hopes and your dreams are. Because I think when people that care about you really see that passion, um, it can help tremendously. And a lot of times, I think what we think is like negativity or doubt, when it's the people that really matter to you, it's more that they're being protective. But I think if you can show them that you're really invested in something, you're going to get that support, which is critical.
Right. And I'm glad that you said that because a lot of times you when you said that they're being protective of you, some people have fallen out with people because they misunderstood the intentions of the
Hmm.
ones that love them. They're
Yeah.
not trying to control you. Sometimes
Hmm.
they're just trying to protect you
Yeah.
from being hurt, making mistakes.
Right.
But you have to go out and you have to live it on your own. And if you
Mhm.
make a mistake, it's not a mistake. It's a lesson learned to
That's
do
it.
it right the next time. So we
That's
do have
it.
a question for you
Cool.
from Patina. She said, "How did you get past the fear?"
Wow. That's a great question. That's a great question, Fatina. I think, what I think worked for me was because this was happening in the midst of COVID, which for a lot of us was a pretty scary time. So I remember thinking, like, it's already, things are already kind of unstable. Things are a little weird. How much worse can it get? Right. Like I mentioned before, I have support. If I completely failed, like say I just fell on my face, um, I have people that have me, you know what I'm saying? So like, even at the worst, I wasn't going to be on the street. I wasn't going to not have people to lift me up. I wasn't going to lose my life. I wasn't going to lose my daughter. You know what I mean? Like the things that really matter would still be in place. But also, to be honest, like, I mean, I had been doing this for a while. So I think it was, um, getting past fear, like Fatina asked, but also knowing I could do it, like knowing in the back of my head, I've been doing it. I had a cushion, a safety net, but I wasn't thinking about a safety net when I was doing it. I was just doing it. So you can pull it away. It's like a kid, you know, a lot of times you take those trailing wheels off, they don't notice, right? And they're just riding, thinking that like they've got some training wheels, or not. Well, maybe not training wheels, but like sometimes you're holding the bike, and then you let them go and they're riding and they think that they're being held, but they're not. And you just kind of flow free.
Wow, wow, wow. That is like that's really good. So, Ron, so when I look at your page,
Yeah.
I see the beauty of what you do. I
Okay.
see, you're out, you're eating all this amazing food, but
Hmm.
we know there are challenges with that. Like, what are some of the challenges you face
Hmm.
doing what you do, your passion full
Yeah.
time? Like, what are some of the challenges you face?
So something that was actually scary or just as scary as deciding to do this full time was years before I had started this. I had like some serious battles with health, mainly pertaining to my weight. So before Eat Famous even started, I was coming off. I was a couple years into losing almost 80 pounds. I was being told by my doctor that I was getting close to becoming obese, and in real danger. So I had completely committed myself to turning my life around, really understanding what it meant to live a healthier lifestyle. So when the success of Eat Famous started to really kind of grow, and I'm in a world where, like, 5 times a week I'm going out to eat. Um, you know, I'm being flown out to different countries and cities to eat, and people are feeding you like their intention is to eat you. I got very nervous because I was thinking, man, I had spent so long to get my health and myself in order. I don't want to unravel that, just regardless of how like fun or prosperous this whole Eat Famous situation is. So early on, I was very um, cautious and very aware of, like, okay, if you want to do this, you're going to have to truly find balance. So when you look at the account, especially quickly or at face value, you're gonna, what pops out is like the slice of pizza that's the size of a blanket, or the burger with 4 or 5 patties, right? Like, there's a lot of different kinds of foods. There's some healthier stuff in there, but that's what sticks out, and that's what makes the page. I think something to consider is that this is social media. I completely dictate when and how I share content. So this is not a 24-hour security camera that's following me or documenting my entire life. This is what I choose to show and when. There's a glass of water here. I had a smoothie for dinner before speaking to you, veggies. So when I'm not creating content or out, it's pretty boring. It's very healthy. I'm a very strict intermittent faster, right? I live in a very walkable city that if I don't have to drive or commute, I try to walk a lot. I'm working out, right? So I'm just trying to create that balance that allows me to still do what I'm doing. And it's funny that I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a great question, because I get a lot of love. I would say most comments are overwhelmingly positive, but you do get a lot of folks that come at you saying, like, hey, you're gonna die, or you're the reason why half the world has heart disease, or and I remember I used to get very defensive and mad and try to go at it with them. And then a couple of things happened. I was like, I'm not trying to mess up any of these brand deals or corporate partnerships for somebody like that. But also too, people sometimes, a lot of times when people lash out, they might be just in a place of hurt themselves, right? So I found it better to try to educate, or I thought maybe, hey, Ryan, maybe this is a signal that every now and then talk about your weight loss journey. Every now and then when you're making a smoothie and you love that recipe, share that too. So instead of just fighting with someone who may have come at me wrong, I think about the people that could be helped by seeing that there's a fuller picture than what the page looks like upon like your initial gaze onto it.
Wow. Yeah, because I saw one of your videos, and you made mention of this. It was the one with the pizza slice, a pizza. And I guess some people must have said
Yeah.
something like, well, you didn't eat all the pizza.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
read the comments?
I do. You know what, man? Because um it- like I'm able to do what I'm doing because I've built a large, pretty dedicated, pretty engaged following. So for myself, it wouldn't make sense for me not to engage with my audience, read the comments, good ones and the bad ones. And I mean, as a human, you get 20 good ones. It's that one bad one
It's
that
that
you're
one
thinking
bad
about
one.
all day that'll drive you crazy. But
Yeah.
I mean, I still try to jump in where I can, when I can, especially if it's positive. Someone's asking a question that wants question or very, very positive comment, or someone's looking for interaction. I try to do, but I try also to read them with caution, because I know people will say whatever. And it's funny, actually. I have a recent post from my trip to Houston where I was rating barbecue spots. And I said five, I think five barbecue spots that you have to go to. But a lot of people took it as I was saying, like, these are the five best barbecue spots in Houston. They were just the five places that the tourism board that I was working with took me to, right? But
Right.
like, there's a lot of saying like, oh, you left out. And like, I started engaging with some people who may not have had the nicest things to say, but then like a couple folks were like, hey, this is just how us Southerners talk. And, we have a laugh about it. So a lot of times I'm not taking everything with offense out the gate, unless they're like way off the page, like clearly disrespectful. But I always try to find a way to like lighten the situation and see if we could, make friends instead of enemies. Not always
Wow. And
possible, but
yeah, and that speaks a lot of your character and who you are as a person because, in the world that we live in now, people just believe that they can say any and everything
yeah,
on your post because you posted,
wow.
oh, it's free domain. I can just say
Hmm.
whatever I want to say,
Hmm.
not taking into consideration what you may be going through at that
Yeah.
moment, how your
Hmm.
day was. So, Ryan, kudos to you for
Hmm.
doing that because I just delete it and keep it moving.
Yeah. I mean, most of them, yeah, most of the like the crazy ones, they're just deleted and blocked, because they can get very wild, very, very disrespectful, and again, it's like you said, people just think, oh, well, I have the right to, I'm just going to throw anything I want, forgetting that there's a person on the other end of that post, right? So,
Yeah. So we have another question for you. They're
mhm.
asking, is Chronicles of Surge? He's asking, do you miss anything about the corporate world?
What's funny? I love that question because you know, initially you would think like be like, nah, I left that 9 to 5, like forget that life. Um, some of the structure, man, like we're on here chopping it up, having a good time. But if I come off of this podcast and I see a bunch of emails, I run my own business. I might have to get back to them now when, I just might want to go play with my daughter, put my feet up. The Warriors game is on, or I think the Sixers game is on right now, right? Like I might want to do that. So, the boundaries that are kind of, although I know sometimes in the corporate world, a lot of people still get sucked into working past their hours and time, but that kind of just being able to say, hey, you can kind of wipe your hands of things. There's some structure. Um, yeah, a few things, but I don't miss enough to consider going back.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty good. So let's
Mhm.
get to the part that I want to know. So,
Okay.
Ryan, what is the best thing you've ever eaten, man?
Oh wow, wow. That question is that's a loaded one because like I mean, there's so much, there's so many things, there's so many like food that um, you know, someone might not think, oh, that's the best thing you've eaten, but it might be tied to a moment or a memory or a place or a certain time. Wow, let me try to dig into. You know what? There was one time I was in Jamaica. We were at, oh my gosh, what's the name of the spot? It's like a big touristy kind of thing. It's like Dun River Falls, right? So it's like this big fall, and you climb these rocks and everything. And I remember like it was like, we took like a catamaran there and everybody's drinking, there's music, a good time, then you climb. And I would say it's exhausting, but you work up an appetite. And then I remember we got back to the boat and they give everybody like just this little, it's like foil paper, like there's some food wrapped in foil. I don't know what it is. You open it up and it was just like some jerk chicken and festival, which is like fried dumpling, right? Um, and that thing just hit. I don't know if it was because the day was so fun, we were partying, the music was right, the vibe, but this tasted like God made it. Like if there's restaurants in heaven, like this would be on the menu. That was one of the things I would think was one of the best things I've ever eaten. Um, oh, man, I went to Florence, Italy, and I had a lasagna, but it was like a pesto lasagna, which I've never had before. I'm used to like lasagna, like with like a marinara or classic kind of red sauce. And I remember being apprehensive. I was like, this lasagna is green, but it was one of the best things I had ever eaten. As much as I've had really amazing food, I'm a big like vibe and memory and like who's at the table, what jokes are we busting? You know what I mean? That can turn some wings a sandwich into like one of the best meals I've ever eaten, you know?
Nice. Okay, so we're gonna go to the
Mhm.
opposite end. What's
Mhm.
the worst thing
Oh wow.
you've ever eaten?
Okay, okay. So I don't know if it ever happened in Texas or in Dallas, but there was a time a couple years ago in Toronto where like there was this trend where restaurants were doing milkshakes, but like it was so you do like a milkshake, but then they would take like say it's a chocolate milkshake, they would put a piece of like chocolate cake on top of the milkshake and then stick a chocolate bar on top of that and like chocolate sauce on top of that and then maybe like a chocolate fudgesicle or some ice cream. Like it was just like these things called freak. Well, I don't want to say freak shakes because freak shakes was like a branded name of a spot that actually did it really, really well. But they're just like crazy milkshakes, just every sweet dessert thing you could think they would put on top of a milkshake. And I remember thinking, and I have a sweet tooth, like I'm like a kid like that. And I'm seeing these things like, wow, like this is, I cannot wait to like go in on this. And I remember I went to a spot and like, you ever have some like old ice cream where when they take off the lid of the container, there's so much ice like on there that you could skate on it and just like it was like there was like some stale cake and like the chocolate bars were dusty and rusty and like it was just overkill. Like it was just too much. And I remember I never went from like being so excited to eat something to just like get this away from me, you know, so quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm like you, so I
Mhm.
love sweets too, but
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes too much is
Right.
too
Right.
much. It's
That's
just too
it.
much.
That's
So
it.
we have another question for you. So this is
Okay.
about a healthy lifestyle. So
Mhm.
the question is, what advice would you give people who have challenges adopting to a healthier lifestyle and
Right.
staying consistent,
Right.
especially with what you do?
Okay. So what I did for myself, because I mean, with a lot of people who struggle with health challenges, it's never a situation where you get it right out the gate. You know what I mean? Like you're going back, you stumble, you fail. So the first thing is give yourself grace. You know what I mean? Even people that you may look at that you think they've got it all together, whether it's health, whether it's finance, anything. Like they trust me, they they mess up too, right? Like they've probably just been doing better at it a little longer so that it looks perfect. Um, and I think what really worked well with me was I wanted to really challenge myself because I think if you can get I call them like small, big, like little big wins. If that, and I'll try to make it make sense, like a little big win. So the thing I hated to do physically the most when I was out of shape was running. Like it was the worst thing. So what I would do is I was like, you're gonna run, but you don't like running, so you're not gonna kill yourself running. I would put on whatever track, whatever music I was really feeling at the time. I was like, you're just gonna run to like just the chorus. That's it. So you're gonna walk up until you get to the hook, and then just run as long as you can. So it was like it was very short because at first in like 5 seconds I'm like I'm out of it. But the win was that I could do it for 5 seconds. The thing I even if it was 2-3 seconds to where it got to a minute to where I was running for an hour and a half straight. But the thing like when you can conquer something even for a short period of time, something that you really hate, something that really scares you, that something that's hard, um, you feel better instantly. It's like a big win. It's kind of like I listened to a podcast called Quick Brain. It's this dude named Jim Quick, and he says every day try to do something hard every day to start your day. So a great example of that a lot of times is like, what are you gonna do hard the first thing of the day? Um, a lot of people shower when they get ready. Most people love a nice warm hot shower. You know what I mean? I try to hit myself with like a cold shower for just a couple of seconds, as long as I can take it every day. And I think it's like a little big win. Like I can't spend the whole time in the shower with it cold, but just knowing that even for a little bit, I was doing something that scared me, something I didn't want to, is a big win to me. So that would be my advice. Like pick something that you think that you could never do and just do it for like the shortest amount of time that you could manage it.
I like that. I
And you'll
like
keep
that.
and every day you will find yourself being able to do it longer. And then some days you might not be able to do it at all, but you still your mind will always hold the fact that you able to do it, and then you conquer that.
Wow. So got another question. You're on fire, man. So Ron, Chronicles of Surge again.
Mhm.
Is it hard to turn your brain off? Meaning, are you constantly thinking about doing the next
Mm,
thing?
that's an amazing question. You know, it's yeah, I have to deliberately shut it off. Whether that's like, um, you know, watching binge watching like a show or some sports or you know, hanging with friends or fam, because like what happens is like for me, especially on the content creation side, like I referenced the Houston post about the barbecue, right? So it's actually doing really well. It's got like over 1 million views. Like I think it's been shared like 50,000 times. So, but rather than like being happy about the success, now my mind is like, how do you make these next pieces of content that you haven't put out yet just as successful, just as
Mhm.
impactful, just as well embraced as this one? So yeah, it definitely is hard to turn your brain off, but I think like you have to consciously do it. And that means, so it's funny because I work on social media. I try to like not, whereas like a lot of people use Instagram or social or TikTok to unwind. For me, that doesn't like relax me because I'm seeing, I don't want to say like competitors, but I'm seeing other people's content. I'm getting ideas. I'm like, oh wow, how this person make this content pop like that. So I think I try to move the furthest away from work, and then that allows me to kind of like shut down. But yeah, no, I definitely do think a lot about, you know, what's next.
Yeah, so when like you said that video got 1 million views, so
Hmm.
sometimes we get in competition with ourselves because we're
Hmm.
trying to beat our last marker.
Hmm. Hmm.
How do you balance that and
Hmm.
keep yourself from not getting stressed out
Hmm.
of meeting the success of the previous thing and just accepting the success of what you're doing, even if it doesn't reach that level?
Right, right. So I think, you know, like there's just seasons for everything. And as much as like I may do very, very well on IG, grow, have impactful stuff, like I know that's only going to be for a time. There's already the next Ryan, right? There's already, you know, the next, not even person that's coming from my spot, but like there's already that next platform, right? There's going to be that next wave of like, what are people into next? Where are companies throwing their money, right? So knowing and understanding that everything has a shelf life, nothing is permanent, right? So don't be so attached to things. I remember, I'm going to mess up the movie, so I'm not going to say what movie it's from, but there's a line from a movie. I feel like it's, and this is going to sound so cliche, I feel like it's like Goodfellas or something, but there's a line that says like, learn how to leave anything in 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
Oh
And for
wow.
myself, aside from like family or loved ones, you know what I mean? But they're basically saying like anything, you should be able to walk away from anything within 30 seconds, right? You know, because it can go anyway, right? We've lived through recently, you know, going back to the whole pandemic thing, we've lived through a time where we're seeing that like, you know, your way of life, all kinds of things can like change or go quickly without you having a say so in it. So don't be too attached to physical things, to metrics. All these kind of things will just fade, right? Every record that's a record is going to be broken eventually. So don't be so attached to it anyway.
So what do you think? Because you have, and we have to continuously evolve.
Mhm.
There's a constant evolution of us, and I think you just hit it right on the nail. Because I think a lot of times we become complacent where we are. We
Mhm.
reach a level, and we think, "Oh, this is where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
This is how we're supposed to do." So how do you constantly
Mhm.
evolve? And then also, another thing too, once we reach a certain age, the world tells us, well, you're this age, you're supposed to
Mhm.
stop.
Mhm.
You've
Mhm.
done everything you can do. How
Yeah.
do you fight against that? And that could be, age, it could be
Mhm.
your gender, your
Mhm.
race, or whatever.
Mhm.
How do you fight against limitations and how do you continuously evolve?
Right. So I think in terms of constantly evolving, it's just kind of like letting it just letting it do its thing. I I've it would sound crazy, and it'd probably be, you might have to have me on for another episode for me to break down the situation. But literally, the worst thing that ever happened to me in my life served to be the very best thing that ever happened to me in my life. The biggest scare that I've ever had in my life was literally the pathway to the most joy I've ever had. Right. So I've had the opportunity to learn that like things are gonna go and change and really just like move, and like embrace that, right? Because like, I mean, it's funny because I might kill my answer now with my answer to the follow up part of the question, but like everything changes. Like if you were wearing the same clothes that you were wearing 15 years ago, 10 years ago, right? That would, and it's not about the clothing or the material things, but like that would, you're supposed to change, right? Like I don't talk like how I spoke when I was in the fourth grade, right? I don't eat the way that I ate when I was, pushing 300 pounds. Like life always changes. There's very few things, except for people, and not even all of them, that are in my life continually. Interests, attitude, approach, all of these things constantly change. So I think if you just have an awareness about how the world operates, who are any of us to think that we're bigger than the world? And the flow of the world is evolution, right? So we're supposed to do the same. In terms of being able to kind of fight against limitation or people thinking like I'm not supposed to be here. Again, I think I've been blessed with perspective. Um, I run an Instagram account. I've got almost 300,000 followers, and the account has to do with like content that I'm creating and sharing, right? So mainly it started out as photos, now it's mainly video. I've never used anything other than my phone. Prior to Instagram, I had very, very, very limited involvement with social media, right? I didn't really mess with it. I didn't totally understand it. No one's ever taught me how to take a picture, hold a camera. So I'm excelling in a world where I shouldn't even be. Like I had no social media experience. I'm a social media manager for a bunch of restaurants in my city. Some of the world's largest brands pay me to create social content for them. So obviously, I can do things beyond my scope or what I thought, right? So no one in the world can tell me I can't do something if literally I made a job out of things I knew nothing about. Now, that's not to say that like I'm gonna pick up a scalpel and go do open heart surgery, right? There's context and kind of like, but I mean, you can get to places, right? Like I think if we really just stop and look, I think a lot of times we do ourselves a disservice of really seeing how far we've come. You know what I'm saying? Like even some of I hate to use like blanket statements, but even like some of the worst people I know are incredible. You know what I mean? They may be misdirected or not channeling their gifts in the right way, but there's something like remarkable about them. Like there's very few people I know that completely like this, like that don't have something about them, right? Again, maybe mischanneling, misusing, not acting upon, but like you can see gifts everywhere. And once you know that you've been blessed with gifts, then like what could stop you? You know what I'm saying? And also too, I think like as I grow, um, it's not really the fear, or like it's not that people are putting limitations on you or that you don't think you can do it. I think the fear comes from like that person being right. It's not like we're really so afraid of doing it or trying. It's being afraid of that person being able to say, see, I told you couldn't do it, right? I think that's more terrifying than those things itself, right? So
Wow, wow. So we got another question before we go to this next segment. Well, we have two more questions, but I'm gonna hold the other one. Lakeisha,
yeah.
I'm gonna hold yours real quick.
Mhm.
But we have a question from Alex, and it
Yeah.
says, what does he feel about a vegetarian or pescatarian diet?
I love it. I love it. I think that anything that makes someone feel good, like food is about what you're putting inside of yourself to fuel you and to give you energy and joy and that boost that you need to get up and face the day. So whatever that is, and whether that's belief system, whether that is health, whether that is just, you wanting to switch things up. I think whatever the reason that pushes somebody towards those things is fine and valid. My wife actually, she's I wouldn't say she's vegetarian, but she's like veggie forward. She's very, very, very healthy, very health conscious. And we make it work, right? Like, and I also too, again, I think my account is very deceptive because I go to vegan spots all the time. I love fish. I again, like the things that headline and get the big hits and what our eyes gravitate towards are the over the top indulgent kind of fast food type things. But yeah, man, I know it'll probably sound cliche, but I love all kinds of food. And I think once food is cooked well, like that, because I know a lot of people say, oh, I don't mess with that culture's food, or I don't mess with this or that. A lot of times, if someone knows what they're doing, I just kind of like, I do this and I relax and I'll eat it. So.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and ask Lakeisha's question because it's kind of tying into that. So Lakeisha said, have you ever pretended to like a particular type of food, but you didn't want to let the person know that you didn't like it to keep them hurting their feelings?
Yes, of course. Of course. I've had to hard swallow, drink 5 glasses of water after. I mean, that's just my folks raising me with manners and not trying to make, especially if like, being at a restaurant is one thing. I've had situations where I've had to turn clients down because like I know that like if I highlight their food, it's not going to go well. I learned a very quick, painful, and I don't know what other word would describe this lesson. But one time I remember I was having some food at a restaurant and I was eating it, but it was not good. But the pictures were just fire. Like John, like, when just like whatever you're doing, you're in your zone. I'm like, these are going to kill it. And when I've started out, admittedly, all I cared about was like likes and views and followers, So I was like, man, these pictures are going to kill. In my head, I'm thinking, though, I hope nobody eats here but of course, you put out some fire pictures, like people are going to, and within days, people are hitting me like, this was not it, or this is disgusting. So I never, at least in terms of like on my account, I've never compromised like my followers' joy or my brand image with putting up something that I wouldn't send my friends, my family to willingly, because people will come back for you. So thankfully, I don't get caught up with that so much on the account or the page. But I mean, every night you end up at a restaurant or at somebody's house, or somebody brings some to a potluck or a cookout or something, and it's just not working. You don't want to hurt them, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because one thing I saw in one of your recent Houston videos is you said you went to this hamburger place. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
It was rumored that was like the best hamburger, I guess, in the U.S. Was it the best hamburger you ever had?
That was the best burger that I've had in the U.S. Yeah, but I'm thinking like, so in Toronto, there's like a very hot competitive burger scene. Like smash burgers are like a really, really, really big deal in Toronto for the last few years. So like when you talk about who has the crown out here for burgers, it's highly contested. But like when in my travels to the States, when I was in New York, I did a lot of burgers, but I feel like that was the best burger I've had in the US in a while. Because that was the thing. I think it was Chill Burger. It was Bun B's collaboration, and they were saying it was best burger in America. I was like, that's a lofty title, but I was like, it's like for what I've had personally, it was one of the best burgers I had in a while for sure. Yeah.
Nice, because I'm going to Houston in about a couple of weeks or so.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to try when I'm down there.
Yeah, man.
Wow. Okay, so we got a little game here, I guess we're going to call it, and we're going to put some stuff up on the screen, and I want you to answer this. And actually, I want everybody else to answer these questions too. So the first one is going to be fried or baked?
Fried.
So fried chicken or baked chicken? Which
Fried
one do
chicken.
you prefer?
Fried
Fried.
chicken. Fried
Okay,
chicken.
so
Fried
people in the
chicken.
audience, which one do you guys prefer? Put them on the screen real quick. Okay, Lakeisha said fried. Okay. Who else we got? Okay, we're gonna go to next. So fried or baked fish?
Oh, okay. I feel like it depends on the fish now. It depends on the fish. If I'm saying like catfish, fried, um, if I'm thinking, well, I mean, I don't see too many people say frying up a salmon, but obviously something like a salmon, I would want it baked. So I think it's going to depend on the fish for me for that one, but probably baked, probably baked. Like I said, my folks are from Barbados, so we've got something in Barbados called flying fish, right? So it's these fish that jump out of the water like super far. It literally looks like they're flying. They kind of have like a little bit of a bird look to them, I guess. So frying, if it's flying fish, then fried. Like if I'm home in Barbados, then fried fish for sure. But generally baked.
Nice.
My
Okay.
arteries say baked.
Okay, so sweet potato fries
Mhm.
or baked sweet potato? Which one do you prefer of the two?
You know what? I'm gonna go with a baked sweet potato because if a baked sweet potato is being served, I'm assuming there's going to be some other delicious foods around there. I'm not mad at sweet potato fries, but I know that like a baked sweet potato, there's going to be probably some mac and cheese not too far away. There's going to be, some chicken or some ribs or something not too far away from that. So yeah.
Oh, Alex said people eat flying fish.
Yeah, so it's. It's a big deal in Barbados. Like that's like the thing. So it's yeah. There's just like these fish that jump super high out of the water, and it looks like they're flying. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty dope. So we got a lot of people said baked sweet potato. Nice. Passing on
Oh,
sweet potato.
passing. Wow.
Okay, wow. Okay, thanks. Okay. Okay, so street corn or steamed corn? Which one do you
Oh
like more?
wow. Wow. I think I'm gonna go street corn. I'm gonna go street corn. I'm a very big like give me like sauces, creams, cheese, seasoning, like stuff like that. I'm a very like if something comes with stuff on top of it, not as much as that milkshake I was telling you about, but yeah, I mess with the street corn for sure.
Okay, good. Pat, Patricia, she says street corn. So let's see what else we got going on out there. A lot of people like baked sweet potatoes. Okay, I'm
Hmm.
with you. If it got a teaspoon of vanilla on it with some
Okay.
butter and some
Yeah.
cinnamon, it got to have
Hmm.
all the stuff on it for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Alex says street corn. Okay, that's good. Okay, so okay. Let's see here. Tina said fried. I'm assuming she's talking about fried fish.
Hmm.
And then Lakeisha said steamed corn.
Oh, butter and
Okay,
salt. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that.
so here we go. Fried or raw? Oysters.
Oh wow. So I've never had a fried oyster.
What?
I've never had a fried oyster ever, ever. And you saw before you even specified that we were talking chicken. Like once I saw fried on this, I'm Mr. Fried everything. So I can only imagine that they're delicious. But I've never had a fried oyster.
Oh wow, dude, you're gonna have to come down to Dallas like
Okay.
in October when we have our state fair.
Mhm.
Everything is freaking fried. Like
Okay.
fried butter, fried dressing. I mean, everything is like
Okay.
fried. So everybody loves that stuff here. I don't eat all of that.
Yeah.
So okay, so I didn't type a one for this here. So mayo or mustard in your
Mhm.
potato salad. That's like a big thing in the South. We will fight
Okay.
you over a potato salad.
Right. I'm gonna say mayo. I'm gonna say mayo.
Okay, those
I'm
in
gonna
the
say
audience,
mayo.
mayo or mustard in your
I'm,
potato salad.
I'm gonna say mayo.
What do you cook yours with?
Me?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, what do you cook yours with?
Oh, mayo, mayo, mayo. Yeah, yeah,
Mayo.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so people are saying both, both. Okay, both.
Both. Okay. I didn't know that was a possible answer. I didn't know both was an answer.
Yeah, some Sir said mayo, and then I am Diva said both in potato salad. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm kind of like I'm a well, I think it all depends on where I am at and what they're
Hmm.
serving with it. I
Hmm.
tend to like mayo a
Hmm.
little bit better than
Hmm.
mustard.
Right.
Okay. So, Ryan, what is one of the weirdest things you've ever eaten? Because I know you fly
Oh
all
man,
over the world. What's
man.
one of the weird? Have you eaten
I
ants?
I've had beetles before. I had a beetle stew, like a Congolese beetle stew. I've had um because I'm like I can I'll, it's funny. I was a very picky kid growing up. Like it's my family's amazed that I do what I do now because they're like, you ate nothing before, you know. I've had, I want to say this right. Um, it was like I've had like a horse pate before, and then I've also had um shoot, it was something else that was crazy. I've had frog legs in Paris. I mean in France. Um, yeah, a lot of one timers. Like a lot of like, okay, I'm gonna take a bite, you know, for the experience, and that's it. But
And I've had frog legs too. Did it taste like chicken to you?
not like chicken. Like I get where people are going with that, but it didn't taste like chicken to me. I think, but you know, in my mind, I'm like, I'm eating a frog. Like I can't think about what it tastes like. I just can't get past the fact that I'm actually putting frog into my mouth. But again, you know, some people like people love it, and it's a delicacy in a lot of places, right? So you know,
Yeah. Wow.
mhm.
So Ryan, I mean, our time is like I'm gonna have to get you back on here, man, because
Of
we're our
course,
time is like gone by so fast,
come on,
man.
wow, that's crazy.
That is
Anytime it's a good conversation, it flows like that, though. You know,
absolutely, Ryan. You are, like I told you from the beginning, you are one of the most inspiring people I
thank you,
know.
man.
And I love watching your content out on, you know, social media. And then now to hear your story behind it. And I just love that whole, you weren't even trying to do this. It just, it fell into your lap and it turned out to be just an amazing adventure for you. I think that is amazing.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you. And like I said, same goes back to you, man. I see everything from the swag, the personality, the positivity, just that everything that kind of radiates off the screen. I knew that like when we would speak that we would get along. There's some people that you know surprise you either way, or some people you might think, oh, this is going to be a little boring or a little rough. But I had no doubt that this was going to be the kind of conversation that we had. So I appreciate you having me on, man. I appreciate the patience for, you know, letting our schedules kind of jive together. So it was great.
Absolutely. So when is the best time to come to Toronto?
So you want to be into like if you're coming like for a very specific time, you want to come during Caravana. It's a festival that celebrates the Caribbean culture in the city. So you know, soca music, reggae music, but then still you're still gonna have R&B, hip hop, everything. It's just a big party that culminates in like this massive parade where millions of people come out in the
Oh
streets,
wow.
walk. Yeah, it's food, it's music, it's just it's everything. But honestly, like it, just in a general space, you anytime from I would say like end of May to like you want to be out of Toronto by like end of September. October it starts to get a little cold. I would say like between May to October. The Toronto International Film Festival wraps up in September, so a lot of parties and a lot going on in the city then as well. But Caravana, that's a highlight for the culture. That's definitely the
And
highlight.
when is that?
That is at the like the end of end of July, beginning of April.
Oh wow. Wow,
Hmm.
wow. So
Yeah, so like
guys,
mid summertime. Yeah.
awesome. So guys, go out, follow Ryan on IG and on TikTok, Eat Famous on IG and Eat Famous Official on TikTok. And if you just want to stay in contact with Ryan or you have any questions, you can either
Mhm.
DM him or you can email him at ryan.hinkson@gmail.com. So definitely go out, follow him now. I'm telling you, you guys are going to be inspired by him. He is amazing. So Ryan, thank you for coming on here, man. I'm so appreciative of you.
You're welcome, man. Thank you for having me. It was a good time.
All righty. Thank you. So, guys, we will see you next Monday, same time. We have life coach Marcello. He'll be here with us. Fascinating guys. So, definitely tune back in next Monday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right, then. Peace.